Charlie Lawson is an unnatural networker to the core. He went from being a complete non-networker to being confident to network anywhere, anytime, with anyone, which is good news as he is the head of the UK and Ireland's biggest networking and referral organisation, BNI. Hello and welcome to Talk Business with Charlie.
Thank you, David. How you doing?
Yeah, really good. Thank you so much for your time in joining us, Charlie. Charlie, I'm interested. What did you do prior to joining BNI?
Well, I was mainly practicing being an unnatural networker and not doing any networking. Not that I realised and I wouldn't have titled it being an unnatural networker at the time. I wasn't aware of networking. Let's be honest about it. What was I doing? I was in IT, and with all due respect, people in IT, I found it quite dull, and it really wasn't for me. Honestly, I tried, get past that bit of my life pretty quickly. I went into a corporate, a graduate corporate job, having done some bits and pieces in smaller firms, temping work that led on to more. When I was at college, and you want to earn a bit of money in the summer, and then things became. I did a couple of things after finished there after finishing being a student, and then went into a graduate scheme, as I say. I knew on day one that I was probably not going to last very long. They had you tied into a short period because they gave you a sort of golden hello, instead of the present when you leave, they gave you this golden welcome, I guess you could call it. Yeah. And basically that paid off some student debt. So I was like, okay, that's great. But then that tied you in for a certain amount of time. So I was there for a bit. I did that for a short while. Honestly, just not as I say, with all due respect to the good IT people of this world who keep us working, keep us operating. Certainly in the last year, we've definitely needed that. But just wasn't really my world. So I was looking for things to do, I guess, and my parents were involved in this thing called BNI. I tried to avoid it. Honestly, I thought, well, it was not the right thing to go and do what my mum and dad did. I really wanted to go and plough my own furrow and do my own thing, but with a bit of arm twisting and realization on my part that I was being stupid, missing out on a great opportunity. Yeah, that's when I came into BNI and getting involved in BNI. But I was nothing to do with networking, nothing to do with anything I do now. IT and I've now forgotten that part of my life.
So, what is networking, and why should every business be actively engaged in this today?
Well, networking. I think maybe to answer that, I'll answer what it isn't first. And I think this is one of the things that puts so many people off networking. People see networking as selling. Yeah. Let's face it, you run a business or you're employed in a business development role. Your job is to bring in business. You've got to be able to, you've got to find new clients, honestly. That's what we're all trying to do. And I think people look at it and say, well, I've got to get networking. I've got to go networking to bring in some sales, and they look at networking from that direct sales point of view. And it most certainly isn't that, because if you try and hard sell to someone when networking, I mean, I'm sure you'll have experienced this. Lots of people listening will have experienced it. Someone who hard sells you pretty much first time you've met. I often quote this as an example. It's just one that stands out in my mind. It was early on in my networking career. I was at a BNI meeting, so it was an early morning. Pretty much just force feeding coffee down my throat just to be vaguely
keep you alive,
able to keep my eyes open and have a conversation with anyone. And this guy enthusiastically came up to me, shook my hands, and told me that asked me would I like to buy his combined fire and security system at this special one-off price of $199.95. And I was like, just go away. I mean, we've all experienced that sort of thing. So that's what networking is. And what is it? It's about building relationships and getting to know people and like them and trust them, and then exchanging business contacts between each other and referral opportunities. A referral where someone is expecting to hear from you. Or a sales potential conversation where someone is expecting to hear from you and looking forward to it. Doesn't mean it's a guaranteed sale. It just means that someone's looking forward to at least having a chat with you about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, essentially, you asked why should every business be actively engaged in it today? Well, okay, if your business doesn't need clients, then maybe you don't need networking. If you're I'm trying to think of a business that doesn't need clients. There are maybe you're an astronaut. Maybe you don't need clients. I don't know. But if you need clients, then networking is going to make a difference for you, because by getting to know people in your community, further outside your community, obviously with social media and opportunities to spread your network much far and wider than your own local community, you've got great opportunities to build relationships and bring in business. So that's why everyone should be doing it.
Yeah. BNI have famously always been known for face-to-face networking, which meant that when COVID-19 hit, you guys had to make a huge pivot. Talk us through that process.
Yeah, no, well, like everyone experienced, what was it, about this time last year, sort of, what are we now? We're early March now. So it was just really kicking off now, wasn't it, this time last year? And I think the thing that got so many people was the speed at which it came. Obviously, for a long time, it was just, I was over in China, and then suddenly, hang on, that's getting a bit closer. It was in Italy a lot, wasn't it? And, it suddenly came closer, and then it really suddenly hit, didn't it? And it was a big operation within, forget the specific dates, as it were. It was about the time that the lockdown, it was the week before the official lockdown started. We just took a decision, no, we cannot have any groups meeting. I mean, let's face it, face-to-face networking meeting, people shaking hands, that's going to be a prime place to spread a global pandemic, obviously. So we took the decision just to say, no, we can't have any. This was a global decision, but it was certainly the right time for us in the UK. And I think we have 1 week off while we prepared BNI Online. So BNI Online, the Zoom, using Zoom platform, obviously, and running BNI meetings online. Tweaks to the agenda, obviously a lot of visuals required, lots of training required to get people. I mean, how many people didn't use Zoom a lot this time last year, and now we use it the whole time? So that just seems really strange in itself, doesn't it? Lots of training to get that done. And within 1 week, we had every meeting pivoted to online, which I think was a phenomenal achievement. I say it's a phenomenal achievement. I'm not trying to say it was a phenomenal achievement by me. It was a phenomenal achievement by everybody within the organisation. Every single group had to go through a whole learning curve to make that happen. Yeah. Clearly, some people found that easier than others. If you're technology savvy and it's easy. You just click this button, you're away. But some people really had to get their heads around it. So it was a big effort by a lot of people, and I can genuinely say I'm really proud to be part of an organisation that did pivot so effectively. And what we've seen is the results have been nothing short of phenomenal. I mean, in the first few weeks, there was a lot of uncertainty. Clearly, some people went out of business. Let's be honest, and that was a reality of the situation. And some industries obviously still suffering greatly now, but what they so we did see a drop in what was going on in terms of productivity of the groups and the business the referrals and the business generated. But very quickly it came back, and we've seen better numbers in so many areas that we track in BNI. The number of referrals, the amount of thank you for the business, the number of visitors coming to groups, the number of people joining, the number of people staying, all those kind of metrics that we track normally. We're actually seeing greater results than quotes normal than we've done. Going back over a number of years. So it's amazing to see that. And actually, each month we're still now comparing, well, what was it like last year? In a pre-COVID world, what was it like? We're about to get to the point where we're going to be tracking and comparing with
like for like,
COVID world as well, which will be interesting. But I mean, last month we had more thank you for the business. That's the confirmed business that BNI members have said thank you to so-and-so for that referral worth X money for me. So that's confirmed business that we know is done, and we're seeing greater monthly results on thank you for the business than in a pre-COVID world. So the BNI online product works. We haven't had a single in-person BNI meeting running since early March last year. I mean, at some point, I'm sure we will be looking to get back to in-person meetings. Some groups, though, will want to stay online, honestly.
I was going to ask you about, Charlie. I mean, because of the success, I mean, if you had tried selling this to everybody before COVID, there wouldn't have been many takers because it was for breakfast, it was for handshakes, like you said, it was for personal contact, and it would have been a really hard sell to take it online. But I think now people have experienced it. There's been such so many benefits in terms of productivity, saving, the efficiency, the effectiveness of the meeting.
I mean, there's time spent traveling to and from meeting. I mean, it mirrors ordinary life or ordinary business, and how many people have worked so effectively from home and honestly, they've been just as productive as they ever have been. And yeah, you're right.
So what do you think this looks? How's this going to shape the future? Do you see a hybrid of face-to-face and virtual meetings? Or, I mean, what do you kind of see that looking like?
I think there's going to be a bit of a choice, honestly, and effectively what we've been able to do is double or even multiply more than that our product offering. You've got in-person meetings, and some people just desperate to have in-person and just go and spend time in a room with each other. There's definitely people who want that. There's definitely people who just like, no, I want the efficiency. This works. This is a great product, and the online works. But yeah, I'm sure there's some mix in between that as well. Because you get the benefits of the online and the efficiencies of it. But from time to time, you want to hang out with your mates as well. So there's definitely some crossover there. So it genuinely makes me feel very proud to be part of an organisation that's made such a quick switch in the first place, but B, has continued to serve its communities and do what it sets out to do, i.e. help people generate business. And especially when times are tough and you want to keep things afloat, people need the service as much more than ever, honestly.
You've described yourself as an unnatural networker. In fact, you've even written a book on it. Tell us about that, Charlie.
I have indeed written a book on it, and blatant product placement. There you go. There it is. The Unnatural Networker. Uncover my name. There you go. Yes. No, I am an unnatural networker. There's a bit of story about that. I mean, there's two of us that run the business in BNI UK. Let's start there. So myself and my business partner Tim Cook, not CEO of Apple, by the way, another Tim Cook. So two of us run the business here in the UK. If you like, we go through a learning journey of how to work together effectively. And what we realised fairly quickly that he was much more operational, getting the systems right, getting the processes right. That's not my world at all. I'm much more bigger picture, probably thinking, public face of the business, if you like. So if it's anyone going out speaking, writing, doing things like that, that's me. If it's anyone who's actually making the business work and getting everything done, you go to Tim. And so, in order to my role in the business is to be speaking and getting writing. I was blogging quite a lot, but everyone said you've got to have a book, got to have a book. So that's okay. Got to have a book. That's what this was a few years ago. And I always knew the book was going to be about networking, but it was getting the angle. What was the angle I was going to take it on? I couldn't just have guide to networking or something because that just doesn't have enough of a catch to it. Anyway, we were brainstorming various things. And as I say, I mentioned earlier, I didn't realize I was an unnatural networker, but I really am. So let's just look at that for a sec. I mean, I'm going to whisper it. I'm head of a networking organization, but I don't really like networking that much. Now, let me qualify that and just make sure you understand. What I mean by that is, given a choice of going and networking with a bunch of people I don't know, or hanging out with my mates. Sorry, it's my mates every time. Where I'm comfortable, where there's a relationship already. That's me. Now, it's not to say that I can't do it. Obviously, I can. BNI has given me great training over many years to be able to do it effectively. But a lot of people are very similar to me. Whenever I speak to any audience about, I always just quickly ask. So this is in a room, but you can do it online as well. But just give me a show of hands if you're an unnatural networker, or if you feel a bit nervous about it or feels uncomfortable in any way, shape or form. And it's always 2/3, 3/4 of the room will say, I feel a little bit nervous or a little bit unnatural about networking. So the majority of the population feel like this. There are some people out there who love networking. I affectionately call them weirdos, but no, I'm only joking. People who like, natural networkers who just, thrive from getting, spending time with people and meeting new people. And my other half, Hannah, she is a natural networker. She is just got your better young kids at primary school age, and I mean, she's desperate for them to go back to school and not have to do the homeschooling thing. But it's not just because of homeschooling. She loves that school run because when she's just on the way to school, chatting with other mums and other parents at the school gates, she knows everybody. When I walk with her, you see her say hello to literally everybody. I'm like, how do you know all these people? It just does the heading somehow. I just don't know how she does it. So she is a natural networker. She just really thrives and gets energy from talking to people and meeting new people. It's a more extroverted point of view. I'm much more introverted, come from an introverted point of view. I get my relaxation and downtime from spending time on my own. That's how I process. That's how I relax. How I want to recharge, if you like. So it's not to say that I don't know how to network. It's just not my preferred thing to do is to go and meet lots of people. Or if I do go and do it, I then need to go and sit down in a dark room and just right, chill out time. So yeah, I genuinely am an unnatural networker. And a lot of people say to me, well, you wrote this book, The Unnatural Networker, you run BNI. I mean, how does that work for starters? That's the first thing. That's quite an interesting dichotomy there because, I run a business network, but you're not networking. And that creates quite an interesting discussion point, but it's also really good because, as I say, the majority of the population are unnatural networkers in some way. Yeah. And actually I can connect with them much better. And I always think you'll learn better from, often when we go to someone to go and learn a new skill, perhaps, you'll go to an expert. And of course you go to an expert because you want to learn that skill or learn whatever it is you want to do. But the thing is, they're often an expert and they're just really passionate about it. What if you're trying to learn something that, you kind of have to learn and you're not doing it because you're really passionate about it, like most people have to do networking? I mean, you ask the question, why should every business be actively engaged in networking today? I mean, that's a telling way you ask that, because that means we kind of know that you have to do it, but do we really want to?
Yeah.
So when you're trying to engage and help people like that, the majority of the population as well, it's good to come from the angle of someone who's really had to go through that journey themselves. And this is the second point as well. It's not, I've had to go through that journey and I'm now okay. I'm now a natural networker. No, I'm not. I'm still an unnatural networker. If you said, right, you've got to go off networking now, I'd be like, really? Do I have to? I still have to psych myself up to go into a room of people. And I'm talking in-person world here, but it's similar on Zoom as well. Whenever you go to a network event and you walk in the door of the premises, maybe a hotel or whatever place it's in, and you kind of see the room over there and you can hear that sort of buzz and energy because there's lots of people talking. And you go in, I don't know, there'll be a sign in of some kind of, you basically work out where you're going and you follow the signs and then you go in. Every time I do it, as I cross the threshold of that room, I'm like, oh, what am I doing here? Who am I going to talk to? This is going to be a nightmare. And within 30 seconds, I'm chatting to someone and it's absolutely fine. But every single other person, well, I say every single, those natural networkers, those weirdos, they relished it and they ran into the room. But most of the other people had those doubts as they crossed that into the room themselves and thought, who am I talk to? They all look like they know what they're doing. They look like they're so good at this. But the reality is most of them were thinking the same just a few minutes before when they got in. So yeah, I'm definitely an unnatural networker. Unnatural networker, I'm proud of it. Let's go with that.
Well, one of the big factors of that is going to be because public speaking is one of the most common fears in human beings. What tips do you have for people to overcome this?
Well, this is actually an interesting one because I'm an unnatural networker, definitely, but I do a lot of speaking and I am not an unnatural speaker. I don't know why. Honestly, I've never really thought about it and looked into it really, honestly. I can picture back when I was at school, if someone had to read something out to the class, when you were reading the book, I'd be happy to do it. I've never had a problem talking in front of other people. So, yeah, I guess I can't give you the unnatural approach to that, but I can definitely give some tips on how people can do it. Because the fact is, when you go networking, I mean, let's be honest, this is all parts of life. If you're in business, you're going to be pitching to get a new client. You're going to have to go and speak in public. It might only be one or two people, but you're still effectively speaking in public. And certainly when you go networking, most networking opportunities will give some form of public speaking within that. You'll present your business for 60 seconds or a longer period. So it's very common, obviously, with networking that's what we've got to do. So what are the things I like to do? I think the first thing is don't wing it. I think winging it is always a problem. Honestly, as I say, I'm very comfortable speaking. I'm very happy doing it. Public speaking is not an issue. But if I am winging it and asked to say something on the spur of the moment, I'm never so comfortable. Yeah. So immediately I'll come across much worse if I'm doing that. So it's a practice thing. And when you see a really polished public speaker, okay, they're getting paid huge money to do what they do, clearly, or they've got they're rich and famous, or whatever it is. You know that there's something behind them, or they've got a really good story. But when you see a really good public speaker and it's really polished and it just everything flows and they get their laughter and they get applause and all sorts of things happen, that doesn't happen because they're just doing it for the first time. They have literally done that talk over and over and over again. They know to the absolute millisecond how to time it, where there's a pause, or how to raise the voice here, or whatever it might be, just to get the necessary audience reaction they're looking for. So, I think people get freaked out when they see proper public speakers and look, we're not trying to be like that, most of us. We're just trying to be able to stand up and talk confidently in front of a room of people. So definitely practice and don't wing it. That's the first thing. What else? I think here's one that works really well if you're nervous when you're speaking. It's a breathing technique I use. I call it 1-4-2 breathing. I learned it from a guy called Andy Bounds. I don't know if you know that name. If some of the listeners may well have heard that name. He's a great guy, very good. He's in sales training, really, as in communications as much as anything. But I heard this trick from him, and it's where you when you breathe, you obviously inhale, you hold the breath, and then you exhale. And you do it in the ratio of 1-4-2. I tend to go for 2-8-4. So I'll inhale for 2 seconds, hold it for 8 seconds, and then exhale for 4 seconds. And if you do that 5 to 10 times just before you speak, the amount of oxygen that just starts flowing around, I don't know the biology of it all, let's not try and go into that, but as I understand it, the amount of oxygen that starts flowing around the bloodstream, it just calms you down. And the great thing is you can do it right in front of someone. So if the next person before you is speaking, or you're just being introduced to speak, you can be sitting there doing this breathing exercise, and you can honestly feel yourself just calm. Your heart rate goes down. You're just much more relaxed. Yeah. So it's a great technique, just if you're nervous when it comes to speaking. And then perhaps the other one I'd go with. I mean, there's loads of stuff you can go into on speaking. Obviously, the other one is what you're saying. I think a lot of people get a bit nervous about what they're covering and what they're saying because they're not really. I'm not saying they're not excited about it, but it doesn't come across as very interesting because they're perhaps listing out facts about their business. We were founded in 1952 and we've got 4 offices and we have 18 staff. And you know what? Yeah, great. It's a great achievement in many cases, but it's not interesting.
Yeah.
So what I'd encourage anyone to do, make your presentations, any talks you do, even in 60 seconds, is not talk about facts like that. Talk about how you help people, and if possible, tell a story about how one of your clients. Maybe you have to take out the names. You can't say exactly who it is because clearly that'll be a case for some businesses. But just talk about your clients. What was their issue, and effectively, why did your client phone you up and say, "I need help with whatever the issue is"? You then sprinkle your magic and do your stuff. You don't need to go into detail on that. Honestly, it's just like I'll help them out with X, Y, and Z. And then how did the client feel afterwards? Because then we, as the listener, we're not getting bogged down in the facts or the jargon about your industry or whatever it is you do. What we're hearing is about another human being that had a problem. That helps put ourselves in their shoes because immediately, I know that problem, or I know someone who's had that problem.
Yeah.
You feel that pain, if you like, the issue they were facing. Maybe they weren't making enough money. Maybe they were stressed. Maybe they were ill, or whatever it is. You then, the business provider, swoop in, save the day. You sort them out, and then how do we feel afterwards? They had more time in their week. They had another X thousands on their bottom line. Whatever the win was, you're then hearing about the positive there. And again, it's about a real person, so it's relatable. When it's relatable, then you'll think, well, I know someone like that. That could be a referral, so that helps. Yeah. And also, just because it's more interesting, it's not the dull facts, that means you're more likely to listen as well. So, like I said, there's loads more on presentations we could do, but just the 3 simple tips there. Practice, get that breathing just to calm the nerves, and then think about telling a story rather than sharing facts about your business. I think that will maybe help a little.
There's some gold there, Charlie. Good stuff. BNI is the world's leading networking organisation. What has been the secret sauce and what has separated BNI from all other competitors? But before you tell us about that, let's hear from our sponsor.
The investment in the video worked wonders for our business. I actually got better results than what I was expecting to.
Video is a really important marketing tool because it allows us to present ourselves in a very different way.
It went down an absolute storm.
I was really impressed with.
We had over 260,000 views and was shared and liked 8,000 times.
It definitely overgrew my expectations.
There was certainly an uptake on business, without a doubt.
That video is working, so it was worth every single penny.
It did everything I wanted it to do. It really got to be.
It's generated a lot of traffic and a lot more work for us, and ultimately generated more profit for the business.
I'm so glad I work with these guys.
So I have instructed them again.
We've gone back again this year.
Definitely the way forward.
Fans of the Talk Business With show benefit from our exclusive rate through our partnership with Animate Our Logo. Visit animateourlogo.com to unlock the discounted rate.
So, Charlie, before the break, we asked you, what is the secret sauce behind BNI success? What separates BNI from all of its competitors?
Well, there's a number of things that BNI does, and I think make the difference. Clearly, I'm a bit biased here. I think that's fair to say. There's 2 or 3 things I pick up on. Number one, BNI has been around a good long time. It's 36 years globally. In the UK, it's very nearly 25 years. In fact, end of this year, December this year, it'll be 25 years here in the UK. And I think one of the things that's really sustained BNI so well, and not just sustained, really pushed BNI forward, is its core values. There's a set of core values, and I know lots of organisations will have core values up on the wall, and we're all encouraged to think along those lines. But they really do form a really crucial part of what we do. Give us gain. I'll pick on one of them. I'm not going to go through all of them, but give us gain being the founding one. I mean, it's the very reason why BNI works. What goes around comes around. If I help you, you're probably maybe not directly back going to help me, but you're going to help someone else. If you can get people giving, everyone giving will create a great whole. So that's definitely the core values are really important. I think the other thing that really makes a difference as well is the fact that there is so much transparency in what happens. Now, every group has a leadership team that runs the group. The groups are autonomous. They run themselves. It's not like BNI says you must do this, you must do that. There's a framework that we ask them to stick within, clearly, but effectively groups have autonomy to operate in the best way they see that they can, and that includes deciding who's going to join, who's maybe going to ask people to leave from time to time. If there's any challenges within the groups, they'll sort them all out. There's a committee that does all that. And one of the key things that the leadership of the group does is they track everything that happens. So who's there, who's not there, who's bringing referrals, who's receiving referrals, who's bringing their guests along, who's going to training events, who's writing testimonials for each other. Everything that happens is tracked. Who's receiving business? We touched upon thank you for the business earlier. That's how we know the overall figures. And it's that focus on, the real result is the business that's generated. Through having givers gain, that helps. There's one other there as well there. The one person per profession thing helps, but there's other organisations that have that as well. But there's transparency of really focusing on the result and being totally open with it as well. I think that for me, along with those core values that just guide us along the way, really are the reason why BNI is so successful.
Yeah. You've met a lot of BNI members over the years, Charlie. What are some of the most common traits that you've noticed in the most successful members, and what are the biggest mistakes people make when networking?
Well, lots to cover there. Let's do most common traits of successful members. I think it's people who appreciate that the BNI meeting. I mean, it's a weekly meeting. If you think that BNI is the be all and end all, the meeting is the be all and end all, that's your networking, then it's not going to work for you. You kind of go about your life for the rest of the week. Oh, I'm networking now at the meeting. That's all the networking you do. That's not going to work. No, the BNI meeting should be the culmination of your week's networking. So I think the best traits of networkers are people are when people put some time aside to do it. It becomes part of their life, honestly. Yeah. I mean, that sounds, okay, if you're talking to someone who's seen BNI for the first time and they like the concept, they like the meeting, you say, you really got to make this part of your life. Clearly, that feels slightly strange to say in that way, but it's true because the best members really do make it part of their life. They put time in to do one-to-ones. They put time in to ring their contacts and try and help each other, find referrals for their colleagues. They make time for it, honestly. And that, as I say, the meeting becomes the culmination of their week's networking, not their week's networking. So I think that's definitely a trait of it. The successful members, it's like everything in life. The more you put in, the more you're going to get out, honestly. So, you know, if you kind of sit there and expect it all to come to you just by turning up, well, I'm sorry, it's not going to work so well for you. So, yeah, that would probably be my answer to you know, what are the key traits of the most successful members. Turning now to the common mistakes I made. I mean, there's loads of them. One of them I mentioned earlier, the fact that, you know, direct selling just doesn't work. You know, no one appreciates it, no one wants it. So most people don't like it themselves. So why they do it to everyone else? Yeah, it's crazy. So definitely that. I'd say the other missed opportunity I think that BNI members often have is they're not targeted enough. We talk a lot in BNI about networking generally about being targeted when looking for referrals. So there's so many stories on this. I'll share one quickly here. I was doing an exercise with a group of BNI members. This was an in-person format. Probably 50 people in the room, and we were doing an exercise where literally we asked everyone to name one person they wanted to do business with. They'd like a referral to. Not a guarantee, just this dreamland stuff. If they could get a referral to this particular person, that'd be awesome. And we were going around the room and some great connections being made. And it's counterintuitive. You think, well, I want all those people over there. Why am I going to go for this one person over here? But actually, when you're networking and you're trying to educate your contacts who would be a good referral for you, you can say, I've heard people say, a good referral from me, this is an osteopath in a group, said, a good referral from me is anyone with a back. And everyone kind of laughed, going, well, it's obvious, everyone's got a back. It doesn't really help. Yeah. Whereas if you can get laser focus on who you want to speak to, yeah, most of the room will not know not know that person. But the one person who does will go, hang on, I can help with that. And it just makes it so much easier to pass referrals. So at this session, we were going around the room, some good connections being made, and I could see this guy at the back of the room. And as a speaker or a trainer at the front of the room, you kind of keep an eye on body language. You want people engaged. You want people sort of sitting forward and obviously paying attention. This guy wasn't. You could just tell he was kind of sat there like this. He was really sort of, you know, rolling his eyes at times, and you could just see he wasn't engaged in the process. Anyway, I thought, oh, deep breath on this one. It's going to be interesting. Let's see what happens. I said, so tell us who'd be a good referral for you. And honestly, this is all he did. He went, no, mate, on you go. he just waved it. Not the next one. I said, go on, give it a go. And he said, if you're seriously telling me that anyone in this room of small businesses, is going to be able to refer me to the marketing manager of the Hilton Hotel Group, I just don't believe it. And I didn't say anything. Within seconds, got like 2 seats along from him, so just next door neighbour but one, goes, yeah, I live next door to the chairman of the Hilton Hotel Group in the UK. We play golf together. Our kids are mates. We've known each other for years. I can make you a referral if you'd like. I'm not sure I want to, but I can do it. The room fell about, and the guy, like, he learned a lesson that day. You just never know who people are going to know. And that's the random nature of networking. And a lot of people look at networking and think, coming to the mistakes people make. They see a group of people. Usually in BNI, they're going to be small business owners. That's our market. And so you're not going to see multinational corporates or bigger organizations within there. But who knows who? It's not what you know. It's not who you know. It's how well you know them and who do they know. Yeah. And that's where the secret to networking is. So, yeah, not being targeted, not being specific in who you're asking for referrals for is definitely a big mistake that BNI members make.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest success stories you've heard from people that have networked through BNI?
Oh, there's just tons. And you catching me on the hop. I'm not going to obviously think of someone straight away who could. There's one example I can think of particularly. What's her name? I can remember her first name. I can't remember her surname. She's over in Ireland. Caroline is her name, and I'm not going to remember her surname. That's annoying. She was a health and safety, small health and safety. It was her. It was one-man band. That was just her, and she was looking to grow a business, and she asked for various referrals, and wasn't getting very far. But then through a series of events, she got something what we'd call a 7th stage referral. So let's just explain what that is. You get a referral to one person. You might know someone I'm looking to speak to. The referral is to that third party. Okay, So that, there's someone in between. I don't know that person, you know them, and you manage to refer me in. It's that third party that makes it a real referral. So that's a first stage referral. What happens if that person in between us refers on to someone else? And that person then refers on to someone else. And that happened 7 times. And it ended up with her doing, I think it was a health, as I said, still health and safety. That was the business, but she became a health and safety trainer for it was an organisation that ran country houses and stately homes, and they had various of them across Ireland. And she did health and safety for the lot of them. This started as one person, one referral into, I think, a gardening company, a landscape gardener who needed just a health and safety certificate. So that was a sort of nothing bit of business, but it went from there, and ended up this huge opportunity. I mean, that's just one example, and I still can't remember her surname. I'm sorry. We'll come to it as soon as we finish. Caroline, her name was. It's examples like that, and there's just so many. Just seeing people get the opportunity to do different things. The business that we create is amazing because it helps our businesses and it helps our turnover. But I like to look at what that business does. Does that turnover allow us to make different life choices? Send the kids to educate, or to put them in through education, or take the family away on holiday when we're allowed to do so? Or does it mean that you grow your business so you take on more staff, put another van on the road and take on contractors? That's not just helping your family, it's helping the wider community. And also the way money recirculates around the economy as well. For every pound you receive, what do we do with it? We should invest it and save it and be sensible, but we probably spend quite a bit of it as well. So, every pound that you receive, you'll spend with someone else. They'll spend with someone else. That happens 5 to 7 times in a good economy. So, you look at BNI groups that, using round numbers just for the sake of my maths, if they've done 2 million of business within the chapter within a year, you can probably say conservatively that that's 10 million plus to the local community. And that's something really cool and really amazing to be involved in, for sure.
How much of a threat is Clubhouse to BNI?
Is Clubhouse a threat to BNI? I don't think it is. I think it's an interesting platform. I've been on it a couple of times. I'm not going to try and tell you I'm a Clubhouse expert. I was invited on last week, and I was in a discussion group. It was on mental health. Very interesting. It was good discussion. For me, it's a platform that allows people to talk. But in the same way as that, BNI is a platform. There's a lot more to BNI beyond the platform it runs on. Obviously, online it's Zoom. In an in-person world, it has various things that it needs to make it happen. But you can't just say, right, there you go, there's a Zoom account, go and run a BNI meeting. It doesn't work like that. You can't say, well, there's a room, go and run a BNI meeting. There's a whole lot more to it alongside. I think it's a great tool, Clubhouse, to get to know people. I'm intrigued to see where it goes, honestly. It's definitely the current thing, isn't it? I mean, I see so-and-so's joined Clubhouse, invite them. It pops up every 5 minutes.
I think it's very bizarre, Charlie. I think it was Thursday last week, 3:00 in the morning. I ended up in a room with Ivan Meisner and 3 other people when we were talking about some snakes in his garden at 3:00 in the morning.
Ivan does love a snake in his garden. I'm honestly freaked out by snakes. I don't know how he goes near them, honestly. There's one animal that freaks me out. It's snakes. Ooh. Anyway.
If somebody was listening to you talk today and they were on the fence about going to visit a BNI chapter, what would you say to them?
Honestly, I'd say just go and visit. There's no harm in. Surely, there's no harm in visiting. No visitor goes to a group and thinks, right, that's me committed for a year with this much invested, and I've got to make this part of my life, as we were talking. No, it's not. You've got to just go and see the group. And some people genuinely will have poorer experiences of networking. We've already touched on that. Maybe you've been hard sold to, or maybe sometimes there just isn't a great fit with one group, but there is a great fit with another group. You hear that tons of times. It reminds me of a story of this was a friend of mine, not so someone I knew already prior to any BNI. He knew I did BNI. He kind of said, "Oh, you know that BNI thing you do?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know that BNI thing I do." He said, "I think I need to get involved in it." I was like, "Okay, cool." And I suggested there were 2 probable groups that just geographically and would work. And one was quite a big group of sort of 40 plus members doing very well, and the other one was probably about half that size, much newer. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to send him to, he's a mate, I think, try and get the best experience he possibly can. Go to that group over there, the one with the bigger group. And a short while later, he rang me up and said, you know what, I'm going to join, but I'm going to join that other group. He went to both. And he just said, honestly, it was just, they were more welcoming. They were keener to have him there. It felt, you know, it just felt right. So, you know what? There's no harm for anyone. Just go and check it out. Honestly, Go and check it out. Go and see what people are doing. That's what I'd say to anyone who's on the fence.
Brilliant, Charlie. The last 45 minutes have absolutely flown by. Thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed speaking to you. Do you have any closing thoughts? And what is the best way for people to follow your journey?
I think social is probably the best place to find me. LinkedIn is probably the place I try and spend the most time. Inevitably, I spend time elsewhere. I am on Facebook, on Twitter as well, but LinkedIn is probably the best place to have an unnatural networker type discussion. That's the place to find me for sure.
And where's the best place for people to buy that book as well, Charlie?
The Unnatural Networkers, probably Amazon again is the easiest place for that one. But actually, second, should start promoting this. This feels very strange to me. The second book is it's with the it's going through final production now. Probably be out later this year. It's called The Unnatural Promoter, because I think there's a lot of people who don't feel comfortable selling themselves and, you know, really shouting about themselves. And this is very awkward now because I get the irony. Unnatural Promoter, and I'm now trying to promote it. So yeah, feels very strange. But that'll be out later on this year as well.
Well, Charlie, we're going to have you back when that book comes out so we can have a conversation about that.
Cool.
We're going to put a link in the description below for your book and for your social media. Thanks again for your time, Charlie. Speak to you soon.
Pleasure. Thanks, David. Cheers.